Hello, my friends. Dead on the cross. The erroneous assumption around my death on the cross has piled up so much energy that it had to manifest itself. Francisco de Assisi, 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 or Padre Pio, accepted the suffering of man and did not confirm my suffering. In their stigmata, this unity faith of the people was expressed, not as confirmation of my death on the cross, but on the basis of a wrong idea around my death on earth. The thoughts have tremendous power, and there are great souls who take up these powers in themselves and bundle all these energies like a channel, so that those who are attached to certain ideas find relief. It is a poor service of love for the people. Each stigmatized person, through his God-connectedness and by virtue of his love of heart, absorbed the energies of countless people, and so the miracles of the stigmata happened. Again and again, great souls were sent to earth to channel these forces, so that persistence in suffering would be prevented. It may seem that these stigmata reinforce suffering, but on an energetic level the opposite is true. Until now, in order to mitigate the collective experience of suffering, these stigmata have manifested on individuals. As soon as you have redeemed all your suffering within you, this work of your light brothers and sisters is no longer needed. Everything that you do not have in you does not exist. As soon as the collective energy pattern of humanity repels the suffering, the energy field of the planet will change. The earth will regain its peace, joy, beauty, and love of all creatures. There is no need for suffering anymore. Only the power of imagination and belief in image bring forth facts. Please separate and redeem yourselves from suffering. This is how you change the facts. People immersed and interwoven with the pure divine consciousness have so far taken away from you what was reflected in your thoughts and religious ideas, so that relief could happen to you. But now you have to step into your own responsibility, free yourself from your suffering, and step out of the world of collective pity, of the oppressive feeling of powerlessness. Suffering is not intended for you, beloved human child. Understand this truth and detach yourself from it. No one should suffer more than I. This praise is uttered by representatives of the Roman Catholic Church, but it is not true, my beloved brothers and sisters. Every suffering is absolute, and every person is completely immersed in his suffering. The pain is always unbearable, and the perception is reduced to the event that produced it. There is no scale from 1 to 10. If you experience suffering, it is painful and you reach your limits. Of course, in my life on earth, I also felt the pain of separation from the Father in heaven, although I was constantly connected to him. There were moments of pain, and this suffering was my silent and eternal longing for my homeland. Beyond that, no suffering happened to me. All the events of the time had a deep logic and were in accordance with the divine plan. I was aware that I was fulfilling my duties and the events, whatever drama they produced, were in harmony with my life and will of the Father in heaven. But it is true, I saw so much suffering, the poor and oppressed, the downtrodden without hope and full of anger, the burdened and sick, but also the wealthy in their spiritual poverty, striving to maintain their earthly securities at any cost. A picture full of suffering and pain presented itself to me. So I came to alleviate this pain, to free people from their suffering, by speaking of love, joy, and peace, and by carrying my light into people's hearts. True suffering happens when you live in darkness, and many at the time did not see the light. But I had plenty of it, and I gave where I could and where it seemed appropriate. I lived in the light, and so there was no suffering and no pain for me. Where there is light, there is also love, and love is always free of feelings and energies of his kind. Please free yourself from the idea that I had to suffer. Free yourselves from this guilt, even if it was presented to you as reality for a long time. It is to relieve your suffering that I have come, not to experience suffering of my own. To free you from suffering, not to create suffering for me. Suffering does not create love, only more suffering, lack of understanding and hatred. My love is the sign that I repel suffering. It is foreign to me, and in my light it dissolves, is transformed and rises, as a divine spark into eternity. Let go of this idea, and you will be able to meet me more directly. Thus my true message will spread in your heart. Suffering is not intended for you, and every pain you create by your thinking and acting. Be vigilant in everything you do, in every thought, in the words you speak, and pay attention to your actions. In doing so, you create your reality. You are the creator of your world, and through your loving actions, infinite beauty and peace can grow, heaven and earth. Recognize this and transform your pain, your suffering, so that you can be a true brother, a true sister to your fellow human beings, clarified and full of light. But how can you get out of this spiral? By not identifying with your suffering. And how can you do that when everything hurts me and I am full of pain everywhere? I hear you ask. By reflecting on who you are, by understanding what has brought you here, by recognizing your tasks, and and fulfilling your tasks there is no suffering, because everything happens in harmony with your eternal self. You are aware of your lineage, but how do I recognize my tasks and my lineage? Have you ever asked about it? Have you written your letter to God? Have you filled your heart with longing and asked your questions? How unconditionally do you care about your story? Are you ready to let go, to experience, to know, and to experience who you really are? I often spoke in meets, and this often involved talking about giving up. Go, sell everything and follow me. What is meant here is letting go. This brings you forward, towards yourself and away from suffering. So this is not meant literally, although this can also be the case. Here the sell everything means to be willing to give everything in order to receive the knowledge of your being, to separate from all in order to obtain everything. In doing so, your full attention is needed and every attachment goes from you, so that you are free in the encounter with yourself. An encounter that is always an experience of God and brings you into the knowledge of your power and strength. All attachments to this reality dissolve from within. Often there were people who took these words literally, sold everything, and then were still plagued by suffering and pain. Transformation takes place within you and transforms your heart. Abundance is necessary and destined for you, but you should not attach yourself to anything. This is the freedom I was talking about, and this means selling everything, attaching yourself to nothing in order to be constantly present to it. There is no need for stigmata anymore. So you redeem your suffering. So you ask your questions and begin to listen to your inner voice. If you find into your law, then you walk in my trace, because it is always the law which takes everything from you, the suffering, the worry, and the fear, in order to give you everything, the eternal access to your real being. Release your suffering and you will no longer find it in the world. It will dissolve as the fog dissolves. As soon as the sun breaks through, your suffering is the suffering of your fellow human beings. Your joy is their joy. The nails by my hand, they do not exist. No blood and also no death on the cross. Free yourself from this fate, even if it is difficult. Take the invocation in this book. Go to your room and I am with you. Ask your questions. I will answer for you. Have patience and let it happen. Open your heart to me, and all wounds will close. What remains is your divinity, your light, and your law, your essence as it is, your essence, God. I am with you all the days. 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗓, channeled by 𝗟𝗔𝗧𝗖𝗛𝗏.